They say moving to a quiet neighborhood is the American dream. Fresh air, neat lawns, morning joggers waving as they pass by. But when I moved to Pine Ridge Estates, I found out that peace and quiet come with a price tag, and her name was Karen Holloway. It was early spring when my wife, Emma, and I moved into our new house, a simple 2-story brick home at the very edge of the subdivision. We were so excited. After years of renting, this was finally ours. The house came with a big front yard, a few oak trees, and a small gravel stretch, right outside the property line, technically the county easement. That's where my trouble began. You see, the mailbox the previous owner had installed was falling apart. Rusted door, broken flag, leaning like it had one too many bad winters. So one weekend I decided to build a new one. Nothing fancy, just something sturdy and classic. I spent all Saturday morning setting the post. Cement, level, fresh coat of dark green paint to match the shutters. Even Emma came out with lemonade and said, "It looks perfect, babe," like something out of a small-town movie. I smiled, wiping sweat from my forehead. Yeah, it's nice to finally build something that'll last. Little did I know that lasting would become a problem. The next morning, I stepped out to get the mail when I saw her, the HOA enforcer herself. Late 50s, short blonde hair in a perfect bob, floral blouse, clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched like she was about to write a ticket. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just walked straight up to the mailbox and inspected it like it had personally offended her. "Good morning," I said cautiously. "Good morning," she said flatly, scribbling something. "You must be the new homeowners." "I'm Karen, the HOA vice president." I'd heard rumors. Everyone had a Karen story in Pine Ridge, but I tried to stay polite. "Nice to meet you." "Yeah, we just moved in last week." "I see. Well, welcome. Though I should let you know," she tapped her clipboard, "this mailbox isn't compliant with our community's aesthetic guidelines." I frowned. "I'm sorry?" "It's just a mailbox. We only allow black or white posts, not green. And the design must be either colonial or standard rural. Yours appears custom." I laughed, thinking she was joking. "It's just a box, ma'am. It's outside my fence line on county land. The HOA doesn't have jurisdiction over this strip." Her eyebrows arched like I'd said a curse word. "Everything within the visual boundary of the subdivision falls under our purview. Even county property?" "Especially county property," she said sharply. That's when I realized she wasn't here to talk. She was here to control. 2 days later, I came home from work and saw an envelope taped to my front door. Big, bold letters, notice of violation. Inside it said, "Unauthorized installation of non-compliant mailbox. Immediate correction required. Failure to comply will result in a $250 fine." I couldn't believe it. Emma read it twice and muttered, "They can't be serious." "Oh, they're serious," I said. "But they're wrong." So I did what any rational homeowner would do. I called the HOA office. The line rang 3 times before a bored-sounding receptionist picked up. "Pine Ridge Homeowners Association, this is Janet." "Hi, Janet, this is Matt Collins. Over on Birchwood Drive, I just got a violation notice about my mailbox." "Let me pull that up." "Okay, yes. You're in violation of Section 4, Article 7, Exterior Fixtures." "Yeah, about that. My mailbox isn't even on HOA property. It's built on the county easement. I checked the plat map myself." There was a pause. "Oh, you'll have to discuss that with Vice President Holloway." "Of course." "Of course," I said dryly. "Can you tell her I'll be happy to show her the county map?" "She already has one," Janet said quietly. I hung up and just stared at the phone. "She already has one?" I muttered. "What is she, the FBI of fences?" Emma laughed, but I didn't, because I knew what was coming next. That weekend, as I was mowing the lawn, I noticed a white SUV parked across the street. Karen was inside taking photos, and of my house, my mailbox, even my yard. I waved. She didn't wave back. 2 hours later, a sheriff's deputy pulled up to my driveway. "Afternoon," he said, adjusting his sunglasses. "We got a call about a property dispute." I exhaled slowly. "Let me guess, HOA Karen?" He chuckled. "That's what the neighbors said." "You got some ID?" I showed him everything. The county easement map, my building permit, even the receipts for materials. He nodded. "Yeah, you're fine. This isn't HOA jurisdiction. You're well within your rights." "Mind telling her that?" I asked, half joking. I already did, he said with a grin. She wasn't happy. By Monday, Karen had posted a notice on the HOA Facebook group. All homeowners are reminded to follow proper design standards. Unauthorized modifications to mailboxes may result in disciplinary action. She never mentioned me by name, but everyone knew. Neighbors started whispering. One older man, Jim, stopped me at the mailbox that week. "You're the guy with the illegal mailbox?" "That's me," I said. "Well," he smirked, "about time someone stood up to her." Turns out I wasn't the first target, just the latest. Karen had fined people for everything, from the wrong shade of mulch to having a flagpole taller than 6 feet. But I wasn't backing down. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with Emma and pulled out my laptop. If Karen wanted to play this game, I was bringing facts. I opened the county GIS map, the subdivision plat, and HOA boundaries, and there it was, clear as day. The line ended 5 feet before my mailbox post. "Emma," I said, turning the screen toward her, "see this?" "Yeah. That gray line is the HOA border. The mailbox is on county ground." She smiled. "Then show them." "Oh, I will. I should—" Clicking print. The next HOA meeting was only days away, and I was ready. Karen didn't know it yet, but this time her little clipboard wouldn't save her. Because when you try to find someone for a mailbox they don't even own, you're about to open a bigger box than you can handle. The HOA clubhouse looked more like a courtroom than a community hall that evening. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, folding chairs lined up in neat rows, and a podium sat at the front where Karen stood, clipboard in hand, eyes sharp like a hawk that had found its prey. I wasn't nervous. I was ready. I had my folder of documents, maps, and photos. The county plat map was folded neatly inside, with a bright yellow sticky note marking the boundary line that proved I was right. Still, as I took a seat near the back, a few neighbors gave me curious looks. Some smiled supportively. Others whispered. Karen had been running this place like her personal fiefdom for years. And tonight, someone was finally challenging her. The meeting started with the usual fluff. Budget updates, landscaping contracts, pool hours. But everyone knew what they were there for. Karen's voice cut through the air like a knife. Next item, violation case, 4721B, regarding unauthorized exterior structure modification. She glanced straight at me. "Mr. Collins, would you like to address the board?" I stood slowly, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Sure thing." I walked to the front and set my folder down on the podium. "For the record, my name is Matt Collins, Birchwood Drive. The so-called unauthorized structure is a mailbox located outside the HOA boundary on county land. I've brought documentation to prove it." Karen didn't flinch. "Mr. Collins, all mailboxes visible from within Pine Ridge. Estates fall under aesthetic regulation. It's in the bylaws." I smiled politely. "Actually, no. Section 3, Article 2 says, all structures on lots within the subdivision. It doesn't mention county, easements, or adjacent properties." There was a murmur in the room. People were whispering and pulling out their phones, looking through the HOA website. Karen forced a tight smile. "Be that as it may, you still violated community harmony standards. The mailbox color isn't regulated by the HOA," I interrupted. "Because the HOA doesn't own that land." I unfolded the plat map across the podium so everyone could see. "This line here, the black dotted one, that's the subdivision boundary. And this strip right here, it's county jurisdiction. The HOA has zero authority over it." Karen leaned over the table, squinting at the map like she was trying to find a loophole. "That's one interpretation," she said stiffly. But before she could continue, I pulled out my trump card, a letter stamped with the county seal. "Here's a written statement from the county planning office, signed by Inspector R. Hayes, confirming the mailbox's location. It's not part of the HOA's don't. It's county easement. You can't fine me for something you don't control." The room went silent. Then someone in the back, an older man with a ball cap, muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Guess Karen finally met her match." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Karen's jaw tightened. "Mr. Collins, you're being disrespectful. These rules exist to maintain property values." "No, ma'am," I said, meeting her eyes. "These rules exist to maintain control. And it's time somebody reminded you that the HOA isn't the government." At that moment, Linda, the HOA president, a calm woman in her 60s who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "Karen, can I see that map for a second?" Karen hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Linda studied the map, then glanced at my letter. "I'm familiar with county boundaries," she said softly. "He's right. That's not HOA property." Karen froze. "Excuse me?" "He's right," Linda repeated. "The HOA can't enforce aesthetic regulations outside its platted limits." You could almost feel the air being sucked out of the room. People exchanged glances. Phones came out. Some neighbors even started clapping quietly. Karen's face turned pale. "But that would mean—" Linda looked up. "That would mean we have to retract the violation notice." For a moment, no one said anything. Then, one by one, hands shot up around the room. "So Karen fined me last year for my garden bench. Was that outside HOA lines, too?" "What about the storm drain area she said I couldn't plant flowers near?" "She made me repaint my mailbox 3 times. It was like a dam had broken. Voices overlapped, frustration spilling out. Karen tried to regain control. "Everyone, please! One at a time! These discussions aren't—" "No, Karen," Linda said firmly. "You've overstepped, repeatedly." The tension snapped. Karen's eyes shimmered with anger and embarrassment. "You're making a mistake, Linda. You'll regret this." Linda just sighed. "The only mistake is trying to police what isn't ours." The meeting adjourned soon after that, but the real show was in the parking lot. Neighbors surrounded me, shaking my hand, thanking me, venting years of pent-up frustration. "You finally stood up to her," one woman said. "Man, you're a hero," another neighbor laughed. Even Bob, Karen's husband, approached me quietly. He looked exhausted. "Sorry about all that," he said. "She means well. She just forgets there are limits." "We all do sometimes," I said kindly. He nodded and walked away, shoulders slumped. A few days later, I got a call from Inspector Hayes at the county office. "Mr. Collins, just wanted to thank you for bringing that HOA issue to our attention. Turns out they've been misrepresenting their boundaries on file. We're updating the records now." "Wow," I said, laughing. "Guess I opened a can of worms." "More like a mailbox full," he joked. He wasn't kidding. 2 weeks later, several homeowners received official notices from the county confirming that certain restrictions the HOA had been enforcing were not legally valid. It was the first real pushback Pine Ridge Estates had ever seen. But if you think Karen took it lying down, think again. One morning, I woke to find something new taped to my front door. A handwritten note in perfect cursive. "You may have won your little battle, but the HOA will be watching. You can't bend the rules forever. Karen H." I laughed, shaking my head. Emma read it and sighed. "She's not going to stop, is she?" "Probably not," I said, dropping the note into the trash. "But she's not the law anymore. And that's what matters." That evening, as the sun set over Pine Ridge, I sat by my new mailbox, coffee in hand, breeze in my hair, and smiled. I hadn't planned on starting a revolution, but somehow, one green mailbox had turned into something bigger. A neighborhood waking up, a community learning what freedom really meant. But Karen wasn't done yet, because just when things started to calm down, she found a new way to fight back, and this time it wasn't about mail. It was about power. A few weeks passed after the big HOA meeting, and things in Pine Ridge Estates felt different. For the first time in years, neighbors smiled when they passed each other on walks. People were repainting doors in bright colors again, planting flowers, letting their kids ride bikes past the approved radius. It was like the whole neighborhood had exhaled. But one person wasn't breathing easy, Karen. She'd gone quiet, which in Karen terms was terrifying. When someone that controlling suddenly stops controlling, it's usually because they're planning something worse. And I was right. One Friday morning, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No stamp, no postmark. Just slid in there by hand. In bold letters at the top, notice of violation. Non-compliance with community standards. Section 4.3, unauthorized encroachment. I laughed out loud. Encroachment? The letter claimed my driveway extended 18 inches into shared HOA, landscaping space. Except that space wasn't HOA property. It was the same county-owned buffer strip next to the mailbox easement. Karen was at it again, trying to move the goalposts after losing the game. Emma came outside just as I was reading it. "Let me guess," she said, coffee in hand. "Karen?" "She's back," I said. "Round 2. Do we call the county again?" "No," I said, smiling. "This time I'll let her come to me." That weekend, I installed a doorbell camera, one of those motion sensor HD ones with night vision. Not because I was scared, but because I knew Karen couldn't resist documenting me again. Sure enough, 2 days later, the camera caught her. Karen, wearing her HOA badge, clipboard in hand, tape measure dangling from her wrist. She walked along the edge of my driveway, squatting, pointing, scribbling notes. Then she did something that made my jaw drop. She stepped over my property line, yanked up one of my small flag markers, and shoved it into her purse. That was it. The gloves were off. I called Inspector Hayes again. When he picked up, I didn't even have to explain much. I just sent him the footage. He sighed. "Mr. Collins, I think we'll need to pay your HOA another visit." "Bring extra tape measures," I said. "You'll need them." 2 days later, the county truck rolled up again. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains like kids watching a parade. Karen stood at her mailbox, arms crossed, pretending not to notice. But when Hayes and his team started marking boundaries, her face went white. After about 30 minutes of measuring and comparing records, Hayes walked over to me with a clipboard. "Matt, your driveway's perfectly within your lot lines. You're fine." "And Karen's complaint?" "Well," he smiled slightly, "turns out her retaining wall does encroach, about 3 feet into the public easement. I couldn't help it. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee." "You're kidding." "Nope," Hayes said. "We'll be issuing her a notice to correct it within 30 days, or she'll be fined." Karen heard that, and she lost it. "That can't be right. That wall's been there for 10 years, she shouted. "Doesn't matter," Hayes said calmly. "It's illegal construction on county land." For once, Karen didn't have a clipboard comeback. After that, things spiraled quickly. News spread across the neighborhood faster than wildfire in dry grass. At the next HOA meeting, Karen tried to spin it, claimed the county was misinterpreting the boundaries. But the residents weren't buying it anymore. Linda, the HOA president, finally stood up mid-meeting and said, "Karen, this isn't leadership anymore. It's harassment. You've embarrassed this board and this community." Karen's voice shook. "You can't remove me without cause." "We have cause," Linda said firmly. "Violation of authority, misuse of position, and defamation of homeowners." The room erupted in applause. Karen stormed out, slamming the door so hard a stack of papers fluttered off the podium. That was the night the HOA changed forever. Over the next few weeks, the neighborhood slowly rebuilt its sense of community. Linda and a few other residents formed a new FAIR, practice committee to review all HOA rules. For once, people actually had a say. The new board sent a letter around. "The HOA exists to serve residents, not control them. We're re-establishing fair boundaries, respectful enforcement, and transparency." I pinned that letter to my fridge. It was the first piece of HOA mail I didn't want to throw out. A month later, I was washing my truck in the driveway when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around, and there she was. "Karen, no clipboard this time, no badge, just a plain blue cardigan and sunglasses." She looked tired. "Hey," she said quietly. "Hey," I replied. "Here to find me for washing my car too long?" She cracked a weak smile. "No, I just came to say, I'm sorry." I froze. That was the last thing I expected. "I was trying to protect this place," she continued. "When my husband and I moved here years ago, I wanted it to stay perfect. But I guess I started thinking perfection meant control. We all lose perspective sometimes," I said. She looked down at her shoes. "They took me off the board. Guess I deserved that. But I didn't want to leave without owning up to it." "I appreciate that, Karen," I said. "Really?" There was a pause. "The kind that feels like a peace treaty." Then she smiled faintly. "Your mailbox looks good, by the way. The green suits the neighborhood." "Thanks," I said. "I picked it just to annoy you." She laughed, genuinely this time. And for the first time since I'd moved in, she didn't look like the villain. She just looked human. That evening, I sat on my porch watching the sunset glow across the street. The air smelled like freshly cut grass. A kid rode his bike past, waving. Emma came out with 2 glasses of iced tea. "You did it," she said, handing me one. We did, I said. The whole neighborhood did. I looked over at the mailbox. Sturdy, shining, standing right where it belonged. Funny how something that simple could spark so much chaos. And so much change. You know, I said, maybe fences and mailboxes aren't just about boundaries. Maybe they're about standing your ground, politely. Emma smiled. You should put that on a t-shirt. A few weeks later, I got an envelope in the mail, this time with a real stamp. The sender? Pine Ridge, HOA. Inside was a simple note. Dear Mr. Collins, thank you for helping us rediscover what this community stands for. We'd like to invite you to serve as an advisor on our new homeowner relations committee, Linda and the Pine Ridge Board. I laughed, shaking my head. Guess I'm part of the HOA now, I said. Careful, Emma teased. You might turn into a Karen yourself. Not a chance, I said, smiling. I prefer green mailboxes and free lawns. I looked out at the road, peaceful, neighborly, alive again. And in that moment, I realized something simple but true. Sometimes the smallest stand can make the biggest difference. One mailbox, one voice, one person saying enough can remind an entire neighborhood what freedom feels like. If you've ever had to deal with an HOA or a nosy neighbor who oversteps their boundaries, remember this. You don't have to fight dirty to win. Stand firm. Know your rights. Stay respectful. Because when truth's on your side, even the loudest Karen can't drown it out. If this story made you smile, hit that like button, drop a comment with your craziest HOA experience, and subscribe for more real homeowner justice stories, where the good guys don't just win, they win with class.